family. So it's Brother Polight, and I'm here to speak to you about risk versus reward. Because when it comes to making monies, you're worried about the risk. And of course, you're not going to be able to generate any substantial revenue when the energy around what you're doing, you're already walking into a state of it. You're already walking in a state of doubt. And as I say, one of my slogans or one of my anthems are, doubt is disrespect to the ancestors. If you believe in God, doubt is disrespect to your God, because you were born with everything. And what that means is, I don't come into this world with need, I come into this world void of need. The world needed me and I'm here. So if I was needed, I cannot simultaneously also need. And I know that may seem like a weird concept or a weird construct, but the reality is, you won a race amongst 777,777,777 sperm or spermatozoa. You know what the odds was of you winning that race to come into existence? Actually one in 777,777,777, and that's presuming that your father was healthy. Your sperm count might be low, he might be in the lower 300,000s, but whatever the case may be, you are a 1 in 100,000 upward possibility. You are almost a 1 in a million possibility just coming into existence. So by the time you come into existence, you shouldn't really be perturbed about if an investment is going to work out or not. But I understand the crisis because of the lack of educational resources, the lack of education in general, because from pre-K to 12th grade, that's 14 years in which you don't get any substantial knowledge about the deeding process, about UCCs, about security agreements, about credit cards or credit card redlining, any of that type of paradigm, any parts of those paradigms, you normally don't learn nothing from pre-K to 12th grade, which is 14 years. So I can understand what's going on here, because the purpose of school is to prepare you for adulthood. So therefore, you go to school, you're supposed to do what? You're supposed to learn about food, clothing, and shelter. And many of us graduate and we know nothing about food, clothing, and shelter. Because in fact, there's no food, clothing, and shelter classes. They're not compartmentalized, nor are they given to you in combinations. In fact, if you look at the colleges all over America, only 9 colleges actually make it mandatory for you to learn economics out of the whole country. Only 9. So let's think about that. So after pre-K to 12th grade, 14 years of schooling, and you learn nothing about economics, then you have to get into one of the 9 of many different colleges that actually make it mandatory for you to learn something about economics. How could there only be 9 colleges that only make it mandatory for you to learn economics? So you're set up to fail. That's a fact. You are set up to fail. And so now we have to go into a state of unlearning, so to speak, because many of the things that you've learned throughout the course of the years have nothing to do with your economic advancement. And so we are left out here displaced, distraught, disorganized, discombobulated. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to function as adults. And thus that renders us a homo commendatus. And a homo commendatus is an adult that acts in their early adolescence. As a homo commendatus, you're always going to need a third party to be an unofficial or official liaison for you to do that which adults do. Like to marry, you got to get a marriage certificate. To die, you need a death certificate. To come into this world, you need a birth certificate. Because in each instance, either you or your parents were too incompetent to facilitate the same of their own free will and accord, so they had to ask a third party. Can you please help me send my family members off? Can you please help me bring my family member into this world? Can you please help us conjoin our family members together? And that's why there's a certificate there. Because each time you get a death certificate or a birth certificate, right, or a marriage certificate, each one has a CUSIP on it, which is a Committee on Uniform Securities Identification Procedure. So the key word is security, and the security is a paper certificate that attests to ownership and equity, as in the case of a stock, or ownership of a bond, as in the case of a debt obligation which has tradable derivatives. Whenever you see a certificate like a birth certificate or a death certificate or a marriage certificate, there is a debt obligation because it's always going to have a CUSIP on there, a Committee on Uniform Securities Identification Procedure. You may say, what does all this mean? Well, back in the days, before this dollar was legal tender for all debts, public and private, held as a Federal Reserve note meaning there's a debt obligation, it used to be considered a silver certificate or a gold certificate. It was called your money, your currency, before it was colorable. was considered a silver certificate or a gold certificate because it was backed by a standard of measures and weights. Article 1, Section 8, clauses 14 and 15. It really technically is illegal to have currency that's not substantiated by something that's of intrinsic value, okay, or to have currency that's not backed by that which is recessionary proof. By that standard, this is why we say that the money is colorable. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go back into what I'm saying. Before, you used to be able to go to the bank and give your $5 up or your $10 up, and you can get gold or silver in exchange of it in fair proportion. Why? Because we can carry gold and silver in our pockets, but if I want a piece of bread, who's going to take the time out to see if they can cut the silver in the right proportion to give me the amount of bread that's due? Let's say I want to buy a car. How much silver will I need to carry, or how much gold will I need to carry in order to purchase this car? So what you get is a paper certificate that attests to ownership and equity. So your money is supposed to be an attestation of that which you have in the form of equity. That's what that is. And you're supposed to be able to trade it in exchange, right, for that which it is worth and that which backs it. So when you see anything like a death certificate or a marriage certificate or a birth certificate that is accompanied by a QSIP, Committee on Uniform Securities Identification Procedure, and we know that security in QSIP is a paper certificate that attests to ownership and equity, we now know that someone is making money off of our death, our life, and what else? Our promise to get together or our union. And this is why many couples cannot even divorce if they have too much property tax debt. If you have too much property tax debt, it doesn't matter if the man is beating up on this woman or the woman is beating up on the man. It wouldn't matter if one of them attempted to kill the other one. It wouldn't matter, because if they're knee deep in property tax debt, if they have a tax lien out there, they have an encumbrance that exceeds a certain dollar amount per their jurisdiction, the state won't even allow them to have a divorce until they remedy or reconcile or rectify that matter or redeem that particular encumbrance or that lien. So I just gave you that debrief, gave a lot of excess knowledge just for the purposes of educating. If you're interested in my mentorship to amass wealth, serious wealth, you're going to go to brotherpolight45@gmail.com. brotherpolight45@gmail.com, and always leave your full name and your phone number. Always leave your full name and your phone number. Do not email and don't leave your phone number. And if you're interested in a consultant, consultations are $200 an hour or $300 an hour in person. Now we talk about risk versus reward, because when we talk about risk versus reward, what's the first thing that you think about when it comes to making money? And that's what I should have also called this. Making money in sport, risk versus reward. That's what I should have called this. And I still have time to do so when this is over. You have to make money sport. When you don't make money sport, you get stressed out at the thought of even attempting to make money. And you don't want to be stressed out at the thought of attempting to even make money. And you don't really want to make an attempt either. You want to get it done. You want to execute. But what is the biggest problem with investing in our community? The biggest problem with investing in our community is the fact that we're worried about taking an L. That L should be for lesson, but instead, that L is for loss. The biggest problem we have when it comes to investing in the community is the possibility that we may lose. Why? Because we can't afford to lose at all. We can't afford to take a loss. And it makes perfect sense, because we're on our last leg. We got our last money. We're on our last $3 grand. We're on our last 5. So we can't afford to take that loss. So you know what we do? We say, man, I want to do it. You get this close to doing it, you wind up wasting people's time. You talk to people for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, say that you're interested in their program or whatever it is, and then you back out. You say, you know what, I'm going to call you right back tomorrow morning. I'm going to get ready to do it. And the next thing you never call back. You do this to so many different people because we have been conditioned to be afraid of success because of the possibility of losing. So how do you eliminate that risk factor when we're beseeching reward? Well, you see, the way this situation was really supposed to work, there's 2 main things that I'm going to teach you about. The way this thing was really supposed to work, or a couple other things, I can't even put it into 2. The way this thing is supposed to work is that, first of all, you're supposed to have a 50-30-20 ratio. 50 is supposed to be for that which is mandatory, or that which is obligated. Okay, those are your bills. Okay, 30 is miscellaneous. not so necessary, but still for all, it keeps you going, because part of the reason why you do all of the obligatory things is so you can have the freedom to do the not so obligatory things. So the obligatory monies, that which has to be used to pay bills, should make up in or around 50% of your spending or your in the form of expenses. Then your 30% is a bit miscellaneous. Yes, you need food, but you probably just want better food than normal. Yes, you could watch a movie in the house, but sometimes you want to make an event out of it and actually go to the theater. And then you have the 20%. The 20% is supposed to ascertain to saving, right, and investing. But for me, I think that's kind of oxymoronish. And the reason being, because we're making a distinction among saving and investing. And so what I need you to do from now on is say to yourself, if you have no intention to spend money, then you have an intention to invest it. This is how we're going to eliminate that risk versus reward factor, which causes you to think about risk more than you think about reward. And once you're driven by risk more than you're driven by reward, you tend to lose. So 50% is supposed to be obligatory spending, 30% is miscellaneous, and 20% is supposed to be for debt that you need to create better credit, and saving and investing. But saving and investing now has to become the same word. So when you say save, mentally you must think invest. Or just simply say invest when you mean save. And you may say, man, that's not that deep. It's very deep. Because if I tell you I got some money in the bank, I really don't plan to spend this for the next year, then why can't I find a no-risk investment that may take a longer time to return, but yield me way better results than that of me putting it into a CD account? I could put some money into a utility lien for $115, and I can get back about $26 from my $115, which isn't bad, but it may take me a month and a half. But had I put that $115 in the bank, in a CD account, I wouldn't have yielded over 700% like I already know I will with a utility lien or something else that's no risk investment. See, so the problem is, if I tell you, or if I tell myself, I don't plan to spend this money the whole year, I'm actually saving this and I don't want to touch it. Now, if that's really my sentiment about the $500 I save or the $115 I save, what I need to do is have what we call patient money. Money that I don't mind allowing to grow and giving me a return for a longer period of time, not the quick money. Because if I don't plan on spending this money for a long period of time, what's stopping me from taking the same money and putting it somewhere where I will get a return, even if the return is only $20, even if the return is only $40, okay? And even if I spend $200 and I only get $40 back, right, 20%. If I only get 20% back of a $200 investment, most people are like, yo, I got no time to put up $200 to get $40 back in 3 months. But was you planning to save $200 and keep it in your bank account for 3 months? See what I'm saying? If I'm planning to put $200 up to save it for past 3 months, why can't I put $200 up into something to give me a return of $40 inside of 3 months? Does this make sense to you all? Because imagine how many times you can do this throughout the year. How much more money would you have? You say, well, Polight, that's only $40 from $200. Well, one person is making nothing and more likely to spend 40 out of their 200 because it's sitting there idle. I'm going to put my money somewhere where I can't access it, but it's going to give me a return inside of a span of time that I probably would have spent that 200 a long time ago. So when we talk about saving in essence is supposed to be when we put money up with no intention to spend. So now what I got to do is find out, how can I take this money that I'm putting up with no intention to spend somewhere where I know I will get a return, even if it takes a longer period of time, because they both mean the same thing if I'm honest about not wanting to spend that which I'm saving. So saving has to become synonymous with investing. Then what comes after that? Then when I get the return from that which I invested, I can allocate that return, because it would have been in the bank doing nothing. I can allocate that return into a risk investment with no sweat, because I've earned the 200, correct? And I've managed to yield some results from the 200, so now I can allocate those monies in the form of that return into something that may be possibly a risk, and I should not feel nothing from it. So we just went over the 50, 30, 20 principle. 50 mandatory, 30 miscellaneous, and 20 being savings and investing, which we know are synonyms at this particular point. And we also consider that there's debt, because this is a debt wealth society. So in order for me to have more credit, I have to owe people. That's how this works. You have to go to school in order to survive in this society, so to speak. You're gonna have student loan. I need to drive to work, so I'm gonna have to have a car note. I'm gonna need a home. I'm gonna have to need a mortgage. I'm gonna have to get a mortgage. So in any instance in the debt wealth society, you have to accumulate debt in order for you to thrive. If I want to build my credit, I need a credit card. I'm gonna have to owe somebody. I'm gonna have to show that I can owe people and give them back a return. So if you want to build credit in a debt wealth society, you're gonna have to go out your way and say, what are the best people or institutions that I can afford to establish credibility? Okay, which is actually bad behavior, because now you're creating a situation where you're creating a psychology where you're becoming acclimated to owe. So you have to be careful with that psychology, because if not taught appropriately, you'll just wind up owing people. Because they're not, hey, what's up, King?
Nice to meet you. I'll follow you online.
Thanks a lot, my brother. Thank you. Appreciate you for listening. Word.
No, I'm just excited to see how you listen to me. No doubt. Nice to meet you.
All right, King.
Okay, let's do it. It's not a problem. Sorry about that.
That's okay. You're fine.
It's all love, man. Thank you for listening.
Yeah,
Being proud. I hear that.
you know you were so tall. You look good.
Camera work, camera tricks.
You too.
Yeah. So make sure you share this video. But again, if you're interested in my mentorship, go to brotherpolight45@gmail.com. Always leave your full name and your phone number. And if you're interested in consultations, $200 an hour, $300 in person. When you make the transaction, we'll confirm the date and the time, and I will forward you some questions. So when you give me back answers, I'll be debriefed on what it is you're looking to accomplish, and therefore we don't pry into your consulting time. This is to establish the best experience that you can have, and we can maximize that which you invested in the consultant. If I could just interface with you periodically electronically, so I can know how to execute and what to present. So that's to your better advantage, and it's also to my better advantage, so I can do a great job. So that's consulting, and then mentorship, of course, costs more, and it varies based on prices if we're doing 3 income, 6 income, or 9 income stream programs. Of course, I'll coach you for 12 times a month, 3 days out the week, and 30 minutes at a time. For some students, 2 times out the week. That's all that will suffice. Everything is online, internet-based, but remember this, the main purpose of it is not to get you for 7 grand a month, 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month, or what have you, even though I know that's what people are interested in, and that's the easy part. The real deal is to be able to retitle those incomes to the trust, because when you purchase the mentorship program, you get a trust in addition to it. The goal is to retitle those incomes to the trust, and so we can project what you make on a month-to-month basis. So the trust has to demonstrate based on performance, and if we can show that after 3 months you've averaged X amount of money, so let's say after 3 months you average 7,000 month to month, then we can say projected wise, after the year is out, you probably make 84 grand. So now this trust is equitable by $84,000 just through 3 months of performance. We're able to project, and through that projection, that can be quantified through insurance, and you'll get back around 2/3 that amount of money, which will compound interest to you gaining from the death benefit when you purchase a whole life insurance policy. And that is an insurance policy, an example of you being able to benefit from it while you're alive, while simultaneously there's an inheritance, and the beneficiaries or the benefactors of the same will also be able to benefit. But in this particular instance, you're using the equitable trust to compound interest to increase the death benefit that you're going to use as an investment strategy. The insurance policy is an investment vehicle, and you're going to compound the interest of the death benefit by assigning the trust to the insurance policy, then borrowing against it. They'll quantify the equity or the amount or the value of the trust, and now you'll have access to $500,000 upward revolving line of credit. This will take a little over a year in the works, because you're going to need 3 months to get this thing going with the trust. Then you're going to have to start putting money into the insurance policy. So it is a work in progress, but that's why with the mentorships, I'm going to make sure that you make money month to month. And what you're going to do longevity-wise, what we're creating is a situation where you have a revolving line of credit. So between the two, you'll be straight and you never have worry or fear, which is going to take me into the next situation. And so if you're interested in the mentorship program, of course, you're going to go to Brother, Polight 45. That's brother, spelled the right way. Brother, pride, optimism, love, integrity, gallant, honesty, and trust. 45 numbers at gmail.com. Always leave your full name and your phone number. And of course, consultations are $200 an hour and $300 an hour. But what I want you to also take into consideration is this. When we're talking about risk, when we're talking about reward, the goal is to get you to be operational at $150,000 upward a year. And the reason why you want to make it over 150 grand a year, because that's where wealth begins. Wealth begins at $150,000 a year. Okay? So this means a number of things. Just like you can tell someone 2 + 2 = 4, and then they can deduce, well, 2 + 2 = 4, then 4 - 2 = 2, then 2 × 2 = 4, then 2 to the second power = 4. Mathematically, you're supposed to be able to come to certain conclusions when we hear one bit of information once we've been taught properly. So if I know wealth begins at $150,000 a year, I also know that I should be able to invest at least $50,000 a year without worry, win, lose, or draw. When we say wealth begins at $150,000 a year, we're saying that we have the ability to invest $50,000 in sport. And what do I mean in sport? We're saying that whether we get a return on our investment, whether we get no money, a little bit of money, or a whole lot in return, we lose no sleep. It doesn't affect our lifestyle. It doesn't affect our living standard. Because you're supposed to be able to invest 1/3 of your income. You know, as a smart businessman, businesswoman, you're supposed to be able to invest 1/3 of your income without losing sleep. So this means that if wealth begins at $150,000 a year, 50K is supposed to be what we can invest, and 100K is what keeps us right. Of course, your income to expense ratio shouldn't be disproportionate, because some people raise the price that they live in as they get a raise. So that's understood. But presuming that your income to expense ratio isn't disproportionate, we understand these numbers that poverty begins for a family of 4 at $32,000 a year, and for an individual at $15,000 a year, where wealth begins at $150,000. And you have to get to that wealth line so you can be able to freely invest $50,000, because another thing that's being said is you're not really in a space to get out the rat race, so to speak, until you have 50 grand accessible to win, lose, or draw. So the goal is to get into a space where you have 50,000 at your disposal to do what you want with it and have fun doing it. I maintain. So when you're in that space, you're not nervous, you're not reluctant, and you're not apprehensive when it comes to saying, you know what, I'm gonna put my money here. Because the average person is saying this: I would do it. It sounds great. It makes sense. I did the research. But what's stopping you? I just can't afford to lose that. And that is the difference between the winners and the losers. Because the winners are all right. The winners are saying, you know what? We could do that. Let me throw that over there. The losers, like I say this, losers think about winners and winners think about winning. When you are in a great space, when you are in the wealth space, you are a winner, so you think about winning. When you are in the poverty space, you are a loser thinking about winners. And it makes you scary, because as much as you think about winning is as much as you get scared, because you can't afford to lose anything you put up. So you never really get to make the type of decisions you want, even when it goes against your better logic. You will sit there and you will say, all of that makes sense. You will sit there and say, I've done the research. You will sit there and say, I've looked all these things up. And you still won't invest. And the reason why you won't is because risk takes more precedence in your mind than reward. And the only way you can make that obsolete or alleviate that is when you get back into the wealth line and you understand the numbers. You understand the 50-30-20 ratio. You understand the 150K upward line. Then you got things into proper perspective where you're no longer reluctant to do that which you know you should be doing in the first place. Okay? So risk incapacitates us with fear. or we're incapacitated by fear when we consider risk. And then the risks start taking more precedence when it comes to doing logistics or doing analytics. We'll start compromising the integrity of our ability to make rational decisions, because despite all truth being presented to us, the one thing that we cannot shake is the fact that we might possibly lose. No matter how much results say, you will win. So what you have to do now is find out what are your no risk investments, which is what I teach. In my system where I teach, people say, man, how come it's only this and you don't charge no additional after that? Because what we do, depending on how many streams of income you have, we put them into tiers. So if you got the no risk investments, we take the no risk investments and we filter the returns from no risk investments. We allocate the returns from those no risk investments, and we fund, partially in part, the risk investments. That's how you do it. You create a tier program, a tier system. So we take no risk investments, get the returns from no risk investments, and then we allocate some of those returns into the risk investments. And what happens is we'll always get the results we're looking for at minimum. So if I create a system where I know, well, we're expecting returns of 7,000 or more, then I know I'm only going to allocate enough of those monies from the returns, whereby if the risk investment doesn't work out right, I still made 7,000 or I still made 3,500. Should the risk investment work out, then I know I've taken my money to a whole nother level, because I already doubled it, having allocated a percentage of the monies towards risk investment. Now let me tell you something about the risk investments. A lot of times risk investments are great. It's just the fact you can't guarantee it. And so we miss out on that, because the way the system has been created, there are some things that they could have created a no-risk clause to it. There's plenty of, and this is the problem too, speaking to people about no-risk investments in the first place, it's hard to even educate people that when I'm doing my program, that you know there is such a thing as a no-risk investment. Somewhere in your mind and in your head, there can be no such thing. You know why? Because how you know it, and I don't know it, because I spent time studying this. Okay, and many other people are aware of the things that's no risk, but the way it's designed, no risk investments may take longer to get returns. Companies, startup companies, they create situations where it's like, you know what, if we go into default, you can get a percentage of your monies back. You can get all your monies back. You can get your monies back and you can get a mild return. If it does work out, you can get, obviously, as a shareholder, that much more money. So now, it's a matter of education. It's a matter of knowledge. Now let me explain to you what the knowledge is. All right, you may invest in stock, but has anyone ever told you to purchase stock that is indefeasible? You may need to purchase an indefeasible stock, okay, with no dissolution, and also have it insured. And by doing that, you take things to a whole nother level. All of that. Lying. Goddamn, Savage is always lying. Okay, so what happens is, and that's what I always do, if there's any detractors, if there's anybody that doubts, you know the beauty about these streams? You can look up the words that I use. And this is what I tell people all the time. Look it up. I give you the information for free when you really think about it. People, oh, you charging all this money, you doing this, that, and the third. I charge, if I'm gonna take time out of my life to help you achieve mastery based on my personal experience. But by all means, when you get this free information, you have the right to go on your path and do the research yourself. Now watch this. People talk about there's no way because I got a challenger that was online. Nah, every investment has a risk. So it's clear that they didn't take the time out to study or even look up any of the words I just used when I said indefeasible stock. See to it when you invest in stock that is indefeasible, with no dissolution, and that you can insure it. See those three things I just said? Indefeasible, no dissolution, and insured. Many of us are not even educated enough to know, you know what? You can actually insure your stock. So imagine if you can insure your stock. Why would you insure your stock? to protect your investment. So now you just created a situation that if the worst happens, you get your monies back. You create a situation that the best happens, you get that much more money back. Now you're eliminating the risk. So now you can make money sport, because all there is reward. Reward in the form of lessons, reward in the form of patient money, or reward in the form of, hey, my research and based on the deterministic algorithms of the market, it worked out when I put this work in and study in. But like I told you, when we have no risk investments, the lack of the allure of them is because we have to have patient money, because we have to wait. So we normally want to make a quick buck. So you talk to people and you have to tell them, I'm sorry, it's going to take 3 months. I'm sorry, it's going to take 9 months. I'm sorry, it's going to take a year and change to really coach you to the point you're going to get these 6 figures. But what I can get you done with is in 45 to 60 business days, I can have you in space to make this on a month-to-month basis, while the end goal is to get you here after a year and change. See, people be like, man, a year and change. But guess what? Next year comes and you still ain't got nothing. The year after that comes and you still ain't got nothing. So now I'm just giving an example of how to create a situation where risk is not always playing you when it comes to the decisions that you have to make. You don't want risk to play you when you have to make decisions when it comes to investing. So here's another aspect of it. Buying indefeasible stock with no dissolution and seeing to it that it's insured. And by dissolution and by indefeasible, what do we mean by all these things? We mean that you don't want the amount of shares to lessen the value of the stock. I'll give you an example. Let me see that phone? I'll give you an example. We look at this thing right here and we say this is a $1,000 phone. We're gonna cut it in half and we're gonna share it out. So now this share is $500 and this share is $500. So the company says, you know what? We're going to expand. But expand means something totally different than economics. So now what we're going to do, mind you, you got a share that's $500, right? But then they turn around and do this. This phone is no longer broken in 2. They say, yo, we're going to expand it. Look, we broke it into 4. What happened to the 1 share that you had? The 1 share that you had, right? Because you only bought 1 share. But the company broke up into 4. So what happened to your 1 share? It devalued. Now it's 250 because they created more shares. Do you see what just happened? Just because they created more shares doesn't mean you're entitled to more shares because they created more shares. Are you walking with me? So you will buy a stock that's $1,000. A stock can be worth $1,000, and you can say, I'm buying 1 share out of the 2 shares they have available. Now, one of your shares is $500. But now what they do is say, well, we've just opened up the market for more shares. We actually broke this thing up into 4 instead of 2. Now each one is worth $250, but you still only have 1 share. So that means your $500 share became $250 because you didn't know to ask for an indefeasible stock with no dissolution and see to it that it could be insured in the event that they go into default. You can get a return on your money. You can get your money returned, pardon. Do you see what just happened there? So sometimes you invest in stock, and because you got a share, you're happy, but you didn't properly securitize your interest, which is where secured party creditor comes in and filing your UCC, because there must be a security interest. And the creditor is birthed by way of the debtor. This is where the UCC comes in. But again, we're not taught this. So you're like, man, I'm happy, I got my share worth $500, and there's only 2 shares. Well, the company just broke up into 4 shares, so because they just broke my joint up into 2 pieces. No, you still got 1, and now it's $250. And what if they turn around and say, you know what, this 4 is now 8. And you still only have 1 share. Do you see what happens? So you have to know how to invest and what to invest in and what to ask to ensure that that type of stuff does not happen to you. So when people lose, it's not necessarily they lose because the market is too inconsistent. When people lose, it's because they didn't know how to properly investigate or peruse through the market within their best interests and needs. That's what will happen. A lot of times, you'll make money many times over before you can even consider losing, because that's the purpose of having sureties. That's the purpose of having insurance. That's the purpose of asking for a stock with no dissolution. Saying, no matter how many shares you open up to the public, my share doesn't devalue each time you make more shares. Because the only person that affects positively is the company giving out the shares, not the shareholder. But you gotta know that. So because of these things, many of us don't deal with stock anyway. You know why? If we were to okay. If we were to ask people, how exactly are y'all losing bread? How exactly are y'all losing money? You know what would happen? They wouldn't even know how to describe why they're afraid to invest in stocks. They wouldn't know how to articulate it. All they were saying, man, I just know it has risk. But you got to know how to diffuse the possibility of a risk. How to diffuse the potentiality of a risk. That's what you got to learn. It's not so much, oh, this got a risk. Anything can be risky if you don't have enough knowledge going into it. Anything could be risky if you don't have enough knowledge going into it. Okay? And that's where we lose many times, just the lack of knowing words. We lose because the inability to take the time out to study the nomenclature of that specific genre, especially when it comes to investing. So most of us are not going to ever invest in anything. And when we do, it's just going to be a very poor decision because we just get tired of not investing. So one day we jump out the window and just say, let me do this, and I don't really know what's going on. I just offer you coaching, teaching, direction. So you get, with pride and conviction, say, you know what, this all makes sense now. So by the time I'm done, you have the educational tools and resources to do this thing of your own free will and accord. You know, we can teach you how to shop for fish, or we can teach you how to get it yourself. We can also teach you how to cook it. So it's different combinations, different levels to this. And you have to take the time out to decide where you want to be in that. Okay? Someone said, thanks now, I lost 10,000 in stocks, cut out. Yeah, I'm just out here teaching. Yeah, let's get it in. But yeah, you can always email me at brotherpolite45@gmail.com. Share the video. Our people need this information. You can use it for absolutely free. You could double check the words that I'm using. Look up the words that I'm using and let them open up corridors along your path to say, you know what? Now I have that much more gumption, that much go, that much more conviction. Now I trust myself more. Maybe I need to get involved with some more of these things. The greatest hindrance is being ignorant. Because what we'll know the safest thing we could do is not do nothing at all. And that's how the ignorant function. Best thing for me to do is not do nothing. And I'm safe, so I'm gonna just leave my money here. And all you're gonna do with it when the money is idle is just use it for something out of growing impatient. You're gonna grow impatient because it's just sitting there doing nothing. And you know it has a purpose to be spent or invested, a form of spending. So you're just gonna spend it because it's sitting there idly. You gotta do something with it eventually, or you're just gonna make a very bad decision. Okay, so indefeasible. Come on, you know, indefeasible. FISIBLE is something to that effect. Indefeasible. INDEFEASIBLE, I believe. Indefeasible, something like that. What else? Dissolution, DISSOLUTION, dissolution. Okay? And of course you want it insured. I don't think indefeasible will spell like that. I'm sure it's a FEASIBLE. Okay? Indefeasible. Indefensible or feasible. Yeah, I'm messing me up. I'm seeing 8 different. Hey, listen, look it up. Yeah, that's what I believe it is, Yamaya. I hate to see, you know, when a word is in question and there's 5 different posts of the word and you know only one of them is right, then you start second guessing how you spell that word. But yeah, you'll get it right. If you just type in the word stock and you spell it out to the best of your ability, you'll get the word and you'll get to look it up. And then also put dissolution. Not disillusion, dissolution. Dissolution. Okay, and just make sure the category is about stocks and bonds and everything like that, and you'll get it. Indefensible.
Yeah, knew it. Knew it was here. I heard your voice. I knew it was here.
What y'all sneaking up on me for?
What? So, where you gonna go? Water.
Hey, give me some water too when you get back. I need a cold one.
Oh, actually.
Yeah, just give me a cold one. Love you too, baby. Laugh out loud. That was a typo. My bad. It's all good. I know I was getting confused. Like, yo, now I don't even know how to spell that. Man, we ain't talking about the money's my God. Knock it off, man. And I said money's my religion. Stop it. And what I meant by that is if we were as zealous about our economics as a community as we were about our politics or our religion, our communities would be reshaped and we wouldn't have to rely on a spook god, because we would realize that a great deal of the power has already been invested in the people from the time we were born. And in fact, we're born void of need, because we've been given all the resources we ever needed, and that's how we got here in the first place. So this is what I'm talking about. This is not a conversation about that. Okay, so you email me, send me your full name, your phone number when you're ready to get it in with the mentorship or with the consultations. Just send it to brotherpolight45@gmail.com. Leave your full name, your phone number, we're gonna get it in. Yeah, you know that. I'm in Rafara. They stay on a low frequency with it. Come on, man. I ain't gotta say much about no gods. They right here in the background. You know who my God is. You know, aesthetically, I just thought this would be real dope. Because, you know, it's our job to provide. And that doesn't mean a woman shouldn't be able to provide. Because in the event something happens to that man, she needs to be able to fulfill that role and responsibility until that void has been filled. Or until he comes home from prison. Or until she meets another brother. Whatever the case may be. So we definitely don't want to handicap the sister. Because in doing so, we handicap the household. But by tradition, brothers, you are to work to the sweat of the brow. Because the burden of her just dealing with childbirth is what it is. INDEFEASIBL. Great. Thank you, Aaron. I had it right. Not able to be lost or overturned. There you go. You want an indefeasible stock. See? With no dissolution. And what the dissolution is, the more shares this company solicits to the public doesn't mean it devalues the share you have. Okay? That's what we're talking about. Well, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. There you go. Water. Oh, she got it. Yeah, you have too much ego to serve me my water, huh? Unbelievable. Not even on the stream can I get the love.
Did you want a bottle?
Oh, now you want to offer me? Nah, I don't like that guilt water. That water's filled with guilt. That's blood water. I don't even touch that. Thank you, beautiful young lady. Thank you, you. Some people just ain't got no manners, baby. Yeah. What's up, baby? Thank you, baby.
Hi, everyone.
That's cool. Keep it going.
Let's go outside.
I love these pictures in the background.
Do you know where you're going?
I said I got to do a stream right there. This calls for some energy, a lot of good energy right here. I love these pictures. What you think about that art?
It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. I love seeing the black woman looking so strong and confident, and not looking reckless or out of control or conforming to the stereotypes. I like these images. These are powerful images right here. It reminds me of my baby. You know, see? Similar features. Boom, 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 boom. Melanin.
Love you. Outside.
What you said, baby?
Love you. I'll be outside.
What you said, baby?
Love you, Daddy. I'll be outside.
Okay, love you more. So yeah, share the video with people who just need some good information. I know where the coconut water. They want $11 for the coconut. Living better don't mean living stupid. But you know, I had to do it when it was just, you know, when I'm not traveling. Man, I'm about to leave.
Are you really?
Yeah, but I'll find a place to plug it. Just put it on that table. I got you. Because I'm about to actually finish up. Just put it right there. I got you. Because I'm about to stop. So argumentative. So I can't, because I'm not going to be over there in 2 minutes. That's why, woman. Yo, she wants the devil to come out so badly. You would not. Okay, people. So I'm gonna get up with you. I love y'all. Be sure to email brotherpolight45@gmail.com. Always leave your full name and your phone number, and make it clear if it's for mentorship or for consultations. I'm in New York next week. I'm all the way in New York next week. I'm turning up. Oh yeah, anybody that is a mechanic, particularly automotive and electrical, I need you as I'm going in next week, because I'm going to extend my luxury vehicle rental company brand to the East Coast. So if you're in the Delaware, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania area, I need at least 10 mechanics ASAP. I'll pay you $200 for the day, and any car that you approve through your expertise, I'll give you $100 on the strength, even if you mess up. You mess up, of course, I'll never deal with you again. But I'm extending my luxury car vehicle brand to the East Coast. So if you are available, if you can travel, I need you next week Tuesday and the Saturday after that. I need you next week Tuesday and the Saturday after that. And I will give you $200 on the spot. And you will travel with me. I'll accommodate for you. And I'll pay you $100 on every car that I purchase by using your expertise. Okay, so I'm employing at least 10 people immediately, because I need it done, because I'm going to extend my brand over there. Yeah. Many of you don't know I'm the go-to guy for a lot of celebs to get cars. And a good friend of mine is a go-to guy to give private jets. Okay? There's a new friendship with him particularly, but he's a good guy. I'll post his Instagram. Real good brother. Just send the email again while it's fresh. Send it while we're hot. Send your full name and let's get it going. Then send the email now, because when I get off the phone, I'll call you right now. Send the email now. Don't tell me, oh man, I've been sending email. You know how much emails I get? You know how much texts I get? Don't let me go into that rant. Send it now. When I say send it now, you texting me instead of sending the email so I can hook up with you. Yeah, you want to learn about trust, then you could do that. You could pay for the consultation. But there's no game, man. I do this thing sleeping. You know, this is what I do. I love this information. When I get free time, I just share it. You do what you want with it. You come to me, go to somebody else, it don't matter. So long as I know that the information is out there and it sets you on your path, I'm good. Yep. So just hit me up, brother. Pride, optimism, love, integrity, gallant, honesty, and trust. Pride, optimism, love, integrity, gallant, honesty, and trust. Brother POLIGHT45@gmail.com. Consultations are $200 an hour, $300 an hour in person. Okay, Clifton. Is email brother POLIGHT45@gmail.com when you're ready. Send your full name and your phone number, and we good money. Great talking to you guys. Love you. I respect you. It's been real. It's been a lot of fun. Peace and blessings.